Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. We're here for the next session, and I'm here with Sarah Saunders. She is out of Grays Harbor E911 out of Washington, and she is going to be doing a session called "Don't Beat a Dead Raccoon." No, really, don't. This is going to be excellent. Thank you very much for being here, for being a speaker for DTBG3, and take it away.
Good morning. As Ricardo said, I'm Sarah Saunders. I'm a telecommunicator at the Grays Harbor E911 Center in Washington. We dispatch police, fire, and medical for our entire county. I first sat behind a console at the age of 13 for an 8-hour sit-in as part of a process to become a police explorer. It changed my life. Because in those 8 hours, I discovered that dispatching was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I spent the next 5 years at the police department almost every day learning everything they would teach me about dispatching. As a matter of fact, most oftentimes I would have a police officer waiting for me when I got out of the school. And they would take me to the police department and let me do my homework, and then I would dispatch until curfew, and someone would take me home. I applied at that same department as soon as they had an opening and was hired full-time in 2001. In 2004, I moved to the Pinal County Sheriff's Office, where I served as dispatcher, trainer, supervisor of our tactical dispatch team, backup system security officer, and Arizona Post certified instructor. In 2010, my family moved to Washington State, and I got hired on at Grays Harbor Communications Center in 2011, where I served as a telecommunicator, trainer, and supervisor. I'm currently a telecommunicator and trainer for my agency, and I'm able to spend my downtime creating case studies and finding creative ways to make people smile. If you haven't already, if you can use the poll below and tell me here who's experienced negativity in your comm center, and then if you have, give me an idea of what you have experienced. I'll wait while you do that. So it looks like the majority of people say they have experienced negativity in your comm center. The one who doesn't, I want to talk to you after the presentation. And it looks like, for the most part, everybody's experienced some, if not all of these. So I have a little story for you. I took a phone call once from a caller saying they'd been assaulted, and they were very upset. It took a little coaxing to determine what had actually happened. Apparently, there was a man at a local convenience store that was carrying around a dead raccoon. He was using it to hit people who he deemed to be a bother or a nuisance. He wasn't really in the mood to put his raccoon down. Who knows? Maybe it was his friend or his pet. Maybe he came across it while he was walking through a park and thought it would make an excellent hat. Maybe there was something even more sinister going on. But when he became upset at someone, his immediate reaction was to become angry and lash out, using this poor raccoon as his vessel to do his dirty work and release his pent-up anger and frustration. It's not often you're going to find me comparing dispatchers to someone who's beating a dead raccoon. But in my quest to dare us all to be great, that's exactly what I'm going to do today. We're going to talk about 3 different ways that we as telecommunicators excel at beating dead raccoons. We're going to talk about how we beat that poor raccoon when we allow the little things to consume us. We're going to talk about how we beat the raccoon with detrimental workplace gossip. And finally, we're going to talk about how we beat that poor raccoon and indoctrinate the next generation of telecommunicators to beat that raccoon by treating our trainees and new hires poorly. I've had the privilege and honor to work at 3 very different centers in 2 states in a variety of roles and positions. And there's one thing that has always stood out to me. We are mostly all the same. Without ever meeting each other, training, or even having set foot in another center, there are a few things that are likely happening in 911 centers across the world. I think it happens when you get very strong, usually type A personalities in a room, and expect them to coexist together in peace and harmony. Except, you'll rarely find this peace and harmony. You can find many things, such as poor communication, cliques, bad attitudes, drama to rival the best housewives of any county, hurt feelings, and gossip. You can also find camaraderie among a group of people that you know will have your back when everything around you is falling apart. I can't even begin to count the number of times I've sat in a small room with an ever-changing group of people in the midst of a crisis, and we worked as a well-oiled machine. As a matter of fact, I can only think of a few close-knit other careers where a coworker could anticipate I was going to need something and took care of it for me before I could even ask. These are the people who we've gone to hell and back with. Some of them I didn't even like, but that didn't matter. All that mattered in that moment is we were thrown into chaos without warning, and we were making sure we were all coming out of it okay. I can tell you even now, there are dozens of people I could call at the drop of a hat, and I know they'd rush to help me if I needed it. I also know that my phone could ring at any time, and I could be speaking to a voice I haven't heard in 10 years, and I would also drop everything if they needed me. There's something about the shared experience of the emergency communications profession, any public safety profession really, that binds you to others for life. It's funny how I can sit in the same room with the same handful of people every day and work as one, striving to save lives, making seconds count, and daring to be great. And yet there are times when just one of us won't stop beating that damn raccoon. As a matter of fact, there are times we pass that poor guy to our room while we take turns getting our frustrations out. I think I can list some of these examples I've seen, and you will likely have seen or heard them too. Heck, you might even recognize you've also taken a turn beating that dead raccoon once or twice in your career. Sometimes it's the little things that get us worked up and angry. Sometimes even irrationally angry. No one ever refills the water jug. They use the stapler and they never put it back. I can never find a pin in this office when I need one. I swear to God, John's got to be deaf. Every time I sit down after him, the volumes are on max and it blows my eardrums every single day. Why are they parking there? That's not their spot. They aren't here after dark, and they always park next to the door. Someone has mud on their shoes, and they came in here, and now there's mud and dirt everywhere. Seriously? She has to pee again? When do I get to claim I have the small bladder? And you know what? Sometimes things aren't that small. Sometimes we can justify being angry. Sometimes things are reckless. Some things are dangerous. Some things just make our blood boil. Who spilled ice all over the kitchen floor and didn't pick it up? Eddie almost fell. She's refused to put a single call on hold all day, and I've entered more than twice the number of calls for service. That call sat for 10 minutes, and she didn't dispatch it. The officers weren't even working a call. Why? The list goes on, but my favorite, the one we're going to focus on just a little bit more, is this. And before you think I'm coming at you, let's clarify. Like most of you, I'm just as guilty of saying and doing it at one point or another. But all she does is complain. Let's stop and think about this for just a minute. We're seriously sitting here complaining about someone because they complained about something or someone else. How many times have you beaten that dead raccoon? Yeah, Jeremy, it is funny. When there's nothing going on and we have a moment to sit down and finally calm down, we create more drama. So how many times have you beaten that dead raccoon? Who here has ever said or heard a phrase, something similar to that, in their communication center? I've heard it a lot, in 3 different centers. And really, they aren't wrong. But often the person who's pointing it out and saying it is just as guilty. How many times have you taken the time to complain about something, but haven't done anything to fix it? How many times did you hit others with these complaints? Or for the sake of continuity, how many times have you struck your coworkers with this dead raccoon, but never addressed the issue to the person you're complaining about directly? Did Susan know Eddie almost fell on the ice she spilled in the kitchen? Does Gloria realize she didn't put a new water bottle on? More importantly, did you know she can't because she hurt her arm yesterday? So what do you think would happen if for just today you put away your dead raccoon and you started to look at things just a little bit differently? I'm going to challenge you to make a change. I'm going to challenge you to be the change. What if we started to show our coworkers the same empathy that we show our callers? Oh, what a wonderful world that would be. What would happen if you started every shift with one deliberate thought? Today, I'm going to dare to be great. Today, I'm going to make a difference, not just in my callers' lives, not just with my responders, but as a matter of fact, I'm going to be great for everyone that comes in contact with me. I'm going to put down my trusty friend, you know the one, my raccoon. Today, he's going to get a break. Today, I'm going to treat my coworkers with the same compassion and humanity and respect that I treat my callers. I'm going to remember that sometimes I was the one that did something silly that inconvenienced my team. I complained about things that bothered me to others, and I did nothing about it. So today, I'm taking the first step in my journey to be great. What would happen if you chose to wash the fork someone left in the sink because their lunch got short when there was that accident? How do you think it would make your coworker feel if you came back in and sent him a message not to worry about it? You took care of it. What if today you asked John if he'll just turn the volumes down when you relieve him because you don't always get it changed before a unit talks to you and it gives you a headache? Stop and imagine for just 1 minute if one, and then two, and then slowly more of the members of your communications team followed your example and set down those silly raccoons that they've been beating for far too long and instead started to embrace the concept to dare to be great. Imagine a dispatch center where you feel comfortable enough to respectfully discuss problems and ideas with your coworkers. What kinds of things do you think you could change? And what problems could you conquer at your center with the simple idea of open communication, respect, and a unified mission to dare to be great? So we're going to tackle the next dead raccoon that tends to hang around communication centers. But first, let me tell you a story. When I was a little girl, I was very patriotic, and I thought the President of the United States was the greatest person in the whole entire world. When my brother was due to be born, my mom and my dad asked me what I thought we should name him. And I, in all of my 5-year-old wisdom, knew what his name should be immediately. President Reagan, I proudly proclaimed. Imagine my horror and sorrow when they named him Andrew. What kind of brother is named Andrew? And who wants a brother anyway? I decided I needed a sister. But Andrew, he was going to be a problem and I was going to have to take care of it myself. So I waited until the perfect moment, our annual yard sale. My parents kind of laughed as I put a sign on my brother declaring he was for sale for $10. Would you believe no one would take him? So eventually I lowered the price to $5 for one slightly used brother. And people smiled. But who wanted a child named Andrew when he could have been the great President Reagan? I know. I would give him away. So I tried to give him away. And I will have you know, not one person wanted a slightly used brother named Andrew. So in a last-ditch effort to get the presidential brother that I've always wanted, or better yet, a sister, I put a sign on him that said, I would pay them $5, all of my earnings from the yard sale, $5 to take this brother. And I will have you know, nobody wanted a slightly used brother named Andrew. I couldn't pay anyone to take him away. 30 years later, I've grown to love him, and I'm glad he's my brother. But I've never missed an opportunity to tell him how I couldn't even pay someone to take him away. Why did I tell you this story? Well, really, it's because I wanted to quote my favorite president, President Ronald Reagan, who said, "I've always believed that a lot of the trouble in the world would disappear if we were talking to each other instead of about each other." So the next raccoon that we're going to address and tackle is workplace gossip. We all know what it's like when the door closes behind one of our coworkers and someone starts in about them. Sometimes it continues for the duration of the time they're outside of the room. Sometimes it's just a quick snarky comment. Generally, you'll find on days like that, someone's beating that raccoon every time somebody walks out of the comm center. Did you ever stop to think if your coworkers pass that raccoon around and talk about the others when they leave the room? They're also passing the raccoon around when you leave the room. No one is safe, and nothing is sacred when this happens. As a matter of fact, it's a distraction from our overall mission to save lives, and it's an immediate failure of my challenge to you to dare to be great. So what can we do to persevere and conquer this elephant, or raccoon in the room, as it were, when this happens? Let me tell you. Gossip has been around a long time, but Socrates challenged others when he said, "Gossip dies when it hits a wise person's ears." Gossip is probably the single most negative thing you can do to your coworkers. It's a morale-crushing activity, and it can destroy workplace productivity. It is an absolute waste of time, energy, and focus. And really, the only thing it accomplishes is hurting feelings, damaging your reputation, and more importantly, it can damage the reputation of your agency. When you choose to participate in comm center gossip, it's a safe bet. You don't stop sharing those juicy rumors with just your coworkers on shift that day. It continues on with other coworkers, your responders, even friends and family outside of work. And you know what? If you weren't able to avoid sharing information about someone, you can guarantee these other people that you've brought into it aren't going to hesitate to share it either. As a matter of fact, they'll likely throw your name in there too. Maybe they'll just say you're the one that told them. Or maybe they've got gossip and rumors they've heard about you too. The truth is, gossip has probably existed as long as there have been humans around to hear it. And it'll probably continue as long as mankind inhabits the earth. But that doesn't mean you can't stop it from happening in your presence. And when you're brave enough to challenge someone to put down that vicious raccoon, you challenge them to stop their need to talk about gossip. So how do we do that? Let's talk about ways we can all be wise and kill gossip the moment we hear it. To do that, I'm going to give you 7 different methods you can put in your toolbox to help you. You can change the subject. We've all been taught to veer away from certain conversations with callers when it's deemed it's detrimental to our call. This is no different. Allowing these conversations to take place about our coworkers is just as detrimental to your work environment. You can remember your goals and my challenge to you to dare to be great. And with that challenge in mind, remove yourself from the conversation. Idle minds tend to gossip, so don't lose sight of your goals. Keep yourself busy, and you will inevitably remove yourself from these painful conversations. Ignore it. You don't have to engage with others when they choose to talk about someone else. I understand we all want to feel included, but when you think about it, you'll also be included as a victim of your coworkers' words. If they're going to do it to one of you, they're going to do it to all of you, so don't engage with them. Walk away. Have an exit strategy in mind ahead of time, and if others start gossiping, walk away. Or in the case of the communications center, turn away, back to your console. Focus on solutions, not problems. And this goes back to what I told you earlier. Not only do we have to treat our coworkers with empathy and compassion, if someone is truly having a problem, how can you help them to be better? If Katrina has been showing up to work late consistently the last 2 weeks, maybe your coworkers are right to be upset. I know I would be. But did anybody ask her why? Did anyone ask what they might could do to help her get there on time? I'm not asking you to act above your wage or step on the toes of a supervisor, but I'm asking you to treat your coworker with compassion and help them problem solve. You might be able to save their sanity, or more importantly, their job. Be the example. The best way to stop gossip in the comm center is to not get involved. It's impossible for you to stop gossip if you're an active participant. So when someone starts in about Kim's sudden interest in running with that new fireman, you can say, let's wait until Kim gets back so she can tell us about her runs. And finally, encourage positive gossip. This satisfies the human need to know while keeping the environment positive and keeping morale up. Hey, did you hear Lynn had a CPR save yesterday? She did telephonic CPR for 15 minutes and he made it. I know she'll be excited to get a life-saving pen. Or, I heard Shannon got called into the director's office yesterday. Someone sent in a letter and flowers for her compassion during a difficult call. Celebrate the success and the victories of your coworkers. It really doesn't matter which of these tools you pull out of your toolbox, as long as it isn't your trusty raccoon. Mother Teresa once said, kind words can be simple and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. This quote is one of my favorites and one I try to embody as a trainer, a coworker, and just a person. Matter of fact, this is the signature line on my work email, and it's on the back of my business cards for work. We can and do embody this idea as telecommunicators. But I want you to think outside of the kindness you show to your callers. I want you to extend that same kindness to your coworkers as well. This quest to kindness leads me to our final raccoon that we're going to stop beating today. We have to stop eating our young. Dispatchers are friends, not food. Dispatchers and communication centers across America have a problem. It's rare to find a center where all the staff openly support and welcome new dispatchers. Yes, Edie, extend the kindness to yourself. When I first started working at a communication center, I had my share of highs and lows. I came in on my first day to a sign with my name on it welcoming me to the team. There was a binder prepared ahead of time with all the information I would need and my sign-ons to every program. There were even donuts to celebrate my first day. I had never felt so immediately welcomed at a center. I spent my first day doing paperwork, getting tours, and meeting current staff. I went home excited to have had a great first day and found this amazing center to work at. Then came my first day on the floor, where there was an argument about who was going to get stuck training the new person. I was told by one employee they wouldn't learn my name or bother to get to know me until I was off probation because there was no use in getting invested in somebody who probably wasn't going to stay anyway. Now remember, I came to this job with 10 years of full-time experience and 7 additional years of volunteer service, having first sat behind the console at 13. I wasn't brand new to the profession, just the center. So on my first day out on the floor, I went home and decided I had made a big mistake. About a weekend, a senior dispatcher picked up my books from the console I had just sat down at and moved them. Apparently, I wasn't allowed to sit there when she was working because that was her console. I was made to move from an open chair I had sat in because that was someone else's favorite chair. About 3 weeks in, without prompting or reason, I had a coworker turn around and look at me with a look of serious concern and disdain when she asked if I was one of those God people. I didn't even know how to answer that. Every trainer I sat with, and there were many since no one was assigned ahead of time to a trainee, wanted things done their way. No other way, even if it accomplished the same job, and that's the way someone else had taught me to do it, was acceptable. I think I learned 10 separate ways to do the same job, and I had to change it almost daily to appease the wants and demands of each trainer. I wasn't really sure what I'd gotten myself into, and despite my experience and the fact that I'm capable at my job, there were many times during training I seriously thought about quitting. What kind of place did I accept a job offer from? I seriously wondered if I'd should have gone ahead and taken my certification exam for CNA, which was a process I was going through at the time I was hired at the 911 center. But for all of these horrible experiences, there were so many good ones too. The supervisors were supportive and kind, even if they turned a blind eye to the bad behavior. The deputy director and director at the time checked in with me often and always had such kind, supportive things to say. I wanted this job to work out. Remember, at 13, I decided this was a career that I was born to do. So I told them I loved the job, things were good, I didn't complain about my treatment. I assumed they were aware of what happened on the floor. I found out later, they weren't. My academy instructor was wonderful and friendly. She made herself available to me in case I had any questions, needed someone to talk to. She gave me her cell phone so I could get in touch with her anytime. And when I finally made it off of training, a process that took just under 6 months, I was again made to feel accepted and wanted. When I asked about the change in behaviors and feelings towards me, I was told I was a new person and I had to prove myself, something I had done. And now they were happy to welcome me back to the team. It's been my goal since that moment to make sure no one else would ever feel the same way I had had to feel again. When I was first promoted to supervisor at this agency, they gave me a choice of what project I wanted to oversee, and I asked to take over the training program. As the training coordinator, the first change I made was to assign a regular trainer to each trainee. And if that person called in sick, or they were going on vacation, or something unexpected came up, the trainer that the trainee was going to be assigned to was decided in advance. And the employee that they were going to be assigned to was notified before they ever came into work, because I didn't want any unpleasant surprises, and I didn't want anyone to have to feel the same things I had felt. We worked with staff to have them all sent to CTO class, as previously the only real qualification to train was you had to be fully released and deemed to be able to handle a console on your own. We wanted to preload our trainers with the basic skills and knowledge that they would need to ensure everyone had the best chance for success. Here's where we need to talk about this raccoon thing again. When you hire a new person, you need to understand a few things. This person really, really wants to be here. They went through a hiring process that likely took them several months. They may have sat for hours on their own time to see how things worked. They may have done learning and research to try and learn geography, terminology, or just listen to their scanner at home to hear what things sounded like and what kind of things would happen. They agreed to a thorough background check that, depending on your agency, likely included a polygraph exam, a physical, blood work, a hearing test, x-rays. It could have included a home visit. And then they had to admit every morally questionable thing they had ever done. They had to sit in front of one or more strangers while they told them about that time when they were a teenager and they stole a flower, or they got into a fight, or they let themselves be peer pressured to drink or smoke marijuana. These things aren't easy and they aren't fun. And this person wouldn't be sitting in your communication center if they didn't want to be there. There were plenty of chances along this process to scare them away. Don't let the one thing that keeps a potentially great dispatcher from reaching their true potential be you. I heard a quote one time, and I really don't know who said it, but it's worth sharing. Treat employees like they will make a difference, and they will. I truly believe that if we treated every new hire that walked into the center like they were going to make a difference, like they're capable and you're excited to have them, you can help them make that difference. Another pretty common thing in emergency communication centers across the world is low staffing. When there's low staffing, it potentially means that people are working overtime, sometimes even on their days off. They're missing birthdays, holidays, and anniversaries. Their requests for days off are potentially being denied, and they're angry. Everyone remembers that one time where there was enough staffing where we could go to concerts or dinner. And they wonder what happened to those days and when can we have them again? They fail to see the answer to their staffing problems is sitting right in front of them. or beside them? Do you know what needs to happen in order to raise minimum staffing, or to start granting days off, or to be able to send you to that training conference you've always wanted to go to? The solution is really very easy. It's something that everyone in this training today can and should be doing. First of all, put away the raccoon. You know what? You can learn someone's name. You can learn what skill set they bring to the table and help them apply the skills they already have to the position of dispatcher, call taker, or telecommunicator. You can ask how their weekend was, or check on them after they take their first bad call. You can offer to point out some of the common points of interest, places that are known crime areas, or locations where officers commonly run traffic stops. You can take them for a drive on their weekend and show them geography they aren't familiar with. Explain to them why you got into this profession. More importantly, ask them why they're getting into this profession and why they chose to start here too. The solutions are really just that simple. You just have to help this new dispatcher succeed. You have to teach them the things that you know, how to calm a frantic caller, what an officer is going to need from them when they're dealing with an emergency situation, what it feels like to work with a team who will have their back and keep them from getting someone hurt until they learn the secrets on their own. And most importantly, you need to teach them to stay away from the dead raccoon. You need to teach them that every day they should come to work and dare to be great. We've come a long way today, and we've talked about 3 very important things that need to change in most communication centers around the country. So many people who work at communication centers are poised by the door, just like the man at the convenience store, ready with their dead raccoons, just waiting for something or someone to upset them so they can strike out and beat that raccoon. How many of you could recognize at least one person in your center standing there with their dead raccoon, waiting to swing it at another coworker? Ruth, she says, let's not beat those dead raccoons. Run them over with a 4x4 pickup and make them flat roadkill. I like it. I want you to take a moment and honestly ask yourself, and you don't have to answer this, but how many people, when you heard my presentation, could picture you standing there with that dead raccoon, ready to attack someone or trash talk a new trainee? Each of us has a very important decision to make each and every day. What kind of day are we going to have today? Take a deep breath, focus on the positives, or should we pick up our raccoon? Do we choose to think the best about people, about our coworkers around us? Or should I make assumptions that everyone's out to make me have a bad day? Are we going to hold each other to a standard that doesn't include or allow gossip? Or should we go full bore with our raccoons, holding them tight while attacking those very people that are there with you through thick and thin? Do we embrace our new hires and welcome them to their profession? Or do we remain poised with the raccoons, debating on if we should beat them with it? You have to make a choice every day between the raccoon and accepting my challenge to dare to be great. What is your choice? Does anybody have any questions?
Very well done. Excellent session. There is one question that came in here, and I want to read this to you. It says, what do you do when you have attempted to help an employee, but they still continue to be negative and suck the life out of the center?
You know, at some point, it's going to have to go to administration. None of us want to be that person who steps forward and takes it to their supervisor or the next level But at some point, as much positivity as you bring in, you're going to have to go further because somebody's going to have to intervene administration wise and take care of it.
All right, excellent. So this was really good. I was taking a bunch of clips, so let me go back here really quick because there was a bunch that that I was pulling out of here, and one of the things in the comments here that I had pulled up. Oh, hold on, just one moment here. Actually, one of these clips. I mean, just from what you had said in your presentation here, you know, this one piece that says, how do we conquer gossip? Like, there's some good points here in everything that you said, and also what people are saying in the comments as well. But I like this quote that you have in here that says, gossip dies when it hits a wise person's ears. I dig that. I dig it. That one and several others that I'm going to be pointing out here when we do After the Greatness with our diamond sponsor there as well, because there's a lot of good insight here, and just thank you so very much for doing this. You know, I think it's always good to go back to basics, right? To go back and really kind of put ourselves in those shoes to remind ourselves where we came from, and you know, maybe even some of the stuff that happened to us that we don't want to happen to others that are coming in, you know. And so there is another question here, and it says, is this available for me to use for an in-house training? A link to the session. My trainers and people need to hear this. So if
I'm absolutely willing to send my PowerPoint.
Excellent. That'll be good. So Vicky, for you there.
Matter of fact,
No, go ahead.
Sorry. I will upload it to the Discord channel, so you've got it. And then if you want to email me, I've got my email here up on the screen. You can send it to either my work or my personal email, and I will get to you the talking points for it as well.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. So for those who are watching right now, whether it be at this moment live or on the replay, make sure to join the Discord community. And when you do, make sure to go to the rules section, hit the green check mark. We'll reveal all of the channels. Make sure to go to the Dare to Be Great channel. And Sarah's going to go in there and she's going to upload the presentation. Make sure to reach out to her as well. Her information is right here, email. And if you can throw that in there as well, that'll be excellent for everyone to have. And Tina says here, Sarah, you know, very proud of you for leading from where you are and setting a great example for others to follow. And I echo that as well. So thank you so very much for this session. And I love the title. I remember when we were going back and forth, and I sent you a message saying, "Hey, you know, we chose your session, but can I get a little more information?" I remember you sent an email back saying, "Yeah, let me give you just a little more," and you did. And I thought, this is going to be good. Like, this is stuff that people really need, and they're going to want to hear. So it was really good. I like the comparison, you know, to the raccoons and stuff, and it was just excellent. I can't say enough. Thank you so much for being a speaker here at DTBG3.
Well, I'm so honored you chose me. Thank you.
So for those who are tuning in right now, we are going to take a little break, and our next session is going to be at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, and that's going to be with Joe McCarville. He's the owner over at 901 Gold Line Training, and this dude is just full of energy and always awesome to listen to. And when he's giving his presentations, if you ever get a chance, make sure to check him out live as well, or in person rather. But his session is going to be We Are All 901, right? So again, that'll be at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.